right. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Justin. Are you able to get a hold of Jenny?
Cutting it close. Let's see, where's my background?
Oh, hey.
Hey.
Is my background
Who's
okay, or is
that?
it backwards?
Here.
Is my background backwards again?
It is. Yeah.
It
is?
is.
Hi, Jenny.
Hey.
Thanks for hanging in there. Yeah, last week we had a whole half hour to like sit around, check the cameras. Now we have 1 minute.
Right.
Laura, do you feel okay for yours? Same as last week?
Yeah, I think so. I'll have to remember, what do I do for share? Oh, I do share screen, and then I get to choose one of my, why don't I see all of my stuff on the share screen now? Hang on. Oh, it's because, there we go. I'm just on it wrong. Now I have the video. Okay, I see. Yeah. I think I got it.
Okay. How about you, Jenny? Do you need to share your screen at all?
Let's try sharing the screen and just see what happens.
Sure.
If I put this in now, maybe it won't take over my thing. Let's see.
There it goes.
Oh, come on, work. Woo.
Oh, neat. Oh, your chef
Okay,
cam.
that it just looks like a square with stuff, right? For you?
Yeah,
I can see the whole. Yeah, I can see your whole screen.
you can see all your
Oh, really? It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
with the sand.
Well, I should make it big. Okay, so now is it filling up most of the screen now?
Guess the whole screen. Yeah. For me anyway.
Okay,
Maybe I should. Let me see.
perfect. And then let me just check out this PowerPoint really quick. I have to
Okay.
go, I have to kind of toggle really quick between them. And then there we go.
Yep.
Looks like a PowerPoint.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, perfect. I think I'm good then.
All right. Cool. I'll start the webinar. Laura, you can mute your screen.
Okay.
And then
Are you going to introduce everything for us?
yeah, one for each lesson. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay.
So Laura, I'm going to turn off your video though. Okay. Just for the first lesson. See you in half an hour. Okay. All right, we got some attendees coming in. We'll wait a minute or two for a few more families to tune in. From Oak Ridge Elementary School. Actually drove out there a couple of weeks ago to see, I think it was Salt Creek Falls. I don't know,
Oh,
Jenny,
yeah,
if you've
that's
ever been
really
out there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
Yeah. We drove through Oak Ridge and saw the town. It was really pretty. Okay, we'll wait another one more minute, I think, 1 minute or two to see if a few more families are going to log in.
Okay.
I don't want to wait too long though, because your lesson plan is probably just about 30 minutes, huh? It's probably pretty tight.
Yeah, I mean, we can.
We'll do 1 more minute. 504.
We'll make it work. It's fine.
Yeah. Start at 504.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. I think we're going to go ahead and begin. So,
Okay.
all you attendees out there, my name is Justin. I work with Connected Lane County, and together with our partners with the STEM Beyond School group, we were here to bring you some virtual family STEM nights. So first on the schedule tonight is for K and first graders, and we have Jenny, who works at Mount Pisgah Arboretum, and she's here to guide you through an activity called soil erosion. Now, before she begins, I will say that since this is a webinar, you unfortunately can't speak directly to us. So if you're out there watching, you can communicate with your signals, like your thumbs up sign or the heart sign, or you can write to us in the chat. Okay, and we'll be happy. I'll be watching the chat and responding to you in the chat in case Jenny doesn't see it, because she'll be leading the activity. But don't worry, we'll communicate in different ways and it'll work. Okay, and lastly, at the end of it, you could cooperate with filling out a short survey to give us some feedback. We'd really appreciate it, but more about that later. So for now, please enjoy the soil erosion with Jenny.
Okay. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Jenny. And like Justin was saying, I work at Mount Pisgah Arboretum. And I am going to share my screen really quick here. Great. So I work at Mount Pisgah, and my computer doesn't like something. Oh, there we go. Great. So here's some just pretty pictures of Mount Pisgah. If you've never come out before, you should check it out. It's a great place to go hiking or have a picnic or come swim in the river in the summer with your family. Another picture. And today we are talking about a really important thing that gets forgotten a lot. So it's usually covered. You can try to guess what it is. It's sometimes hard, but sometimes soft. It can be red, yellow, orange, black, even white. And when it's wet, it sometimes sticks to your boots. So probably from what Justin said already, you've already guessed that it's soil. So soil is really important for a lot of different reasons. And what is it, first of all, right? So what is it actually made out of? So one of the things that goes into it is minerals or rocks. So I've got this little jar here. You might be able to see me in the corner. And we're going to put all the ingredients in that make up soil and see if we can make some in this jar right now. So we got our empty jar. The first thing I'm going to add in are these, some rocks, because that's part of what makes up soil. So we're going to throw those in our jar here. Here they are. And then the next thing is water. So I have a little bit of water here. So I'm going to add that in. That's probably enough. So here we are. We've got rocks. We got water. And then we need air, which is kind of a weird one. So I'm just going to blow into the jar. And look, kind of clouded up. So we got some air in there. That's important. And then organic matter. So that's stuff like dead leaves, things like this, like some old bits of plants and stuff. So I have some of those from last year. Here they are. And I'm going to shove them in the jar here. And those are the four main things that make up soil. So we're going to close up the jar. We're going to shake it up and we're going to see if we can make some soil. Let's see what happens. And ta-da! It's soil. Is it soil yet? It's not. It's not yet soil. this is what we need to make soil. These are all the parts, but there's another really important thing that has to get added in for it to actually be soil. And that is that it has to all break down. And a big way it breaks down is by little organisms, bugs like worms, little tiny critters, bacteria, fungus, gets into all this stuff and breaks it down and turns it into like nice fluffy soil. And I'll show you some of that later, like this right here. We'll see it a little better later, but here we got some soil. It's all the pieces, little bits of rocks in here, little bits of leaves, stuff like that. It's wet, it's a little bit moist, so there's water in there, but it's all broken down and mixed up together, and that's how soil works. You gotta have all of those things together to make it. So that's what it is. Why is it important? Why do we care about soil? Well, soil helps plants grow. So here's a little baby oak tree right here. And it's growing because it's able to put its roots into the soil and get nutrients and water that's in the soil. And that's how it grows. And then eventually you get big plants like all of these trees in this picture. And they would not be able to grow without soil. So soil is really important for plants to be able to grow. It's also important for other things like mushrooms, like the ones in these pictures, different kinds of fungus you can find in the soil. And then there's a lot of animals that live in the soil. So here's one, this is a sow bug. It's kind of like a pill bug or like a little roly-poly. It's slightly different because they don't roll up. But lots of little bugs live in the soil. Things like worms, and here we've got a couple different kinds of salamanders. So there's some animals that spend almost their whole lives living underground in the soil in tunnels that they make, and they hardly ever come up to the surface. Even some bigger animals like this little gopher poking up out of its hole right here. So some large animals live in the soil. So soil lets plants grow, and it also provides a habitat for a lot of animals. So it's very important. So what does soil need though? Soil needs a few things. It needs a cover. So you can see in this picture here, there's all these beautiful trees and all this beautiful meadow with grass. And underneath all of that is a whole bunch of soil, and that's letting those plants grow. But soil wants to be covered. It kind of wants like a blanket over the top of it. And so soil that's not covered without its blanket of plants is not that happy. Soil also wants all those plants because it helps keep it moist in there, because it doesn't really like to dry out. A lot of the little organisms that help the soil and keep the soil nice and healthy, they don't do well if the soil gets too dry. So it kind of wants to stay moist, and it wants a cover. And what happens if it doesn't have those things? You get erosion. So in this picture, you can see this river, and it's red because when it rains, the soil from the hillsides over here is just like washing away and going down into the river. And that's because there's not enough plants here. Like the plants are gone. And so that soil on the hillsides around this river is missing its cover. And that means that it can just get washed away by the water. So here's some other pictures of erosion. Here's a place where a stream is, there's not very many plants in this picture, and there's a stream and a creek, and the water is just like taking the soil with it when it runs, right? The whole thing is just sort of falling, and all the soil is getting lost and falling into the water. Here's another picture that's kind of funny where you can see there used to be a fence in this spot, but the river has actually carved out the land in that spot, and it just takes the soil with it. So that's another example of erosion. And here's one where you can see this whole hillside next to this water is just slowly sliding down into the water and eroding. So water does a lot of erosion, but also wind can erode things. So in drier areas, or if soil gets too dry and it doesn't have a cover, then when the wind blows, the soil just blows away with it. So I don't know if you've ever seen like a little dust devil before, where you can see like in the summer sometimes on farm fields around here, you'll see like a whirlwind of dirt all of a sudden. And that's all soil that we're losing. It's like flying away into the air, and that is causing erosion too. So wind can do that also. So erosion is something that we don't really want. Usually we want to keep our soil where it is because the soil is so important for all the plants and animals around here. We want to protect it and keep it well covered. So we're going to do a little experiment. Oh, here, this is happy soil. It's got its nice cover. Here's all the little plants. It's not going to get washed away because the roots of the plants are going to hold it together, and it's not going to dry out because they're going to shade the soil, all of those leaves, and it's not going to blow away from the wind either. So happy soil is a soil with cover on it so that it's not going to erode. So we are going to do a little experiment to see if we can stop soil erosion. We're going to make some erosion happen first, and then we're going to see how we can possibly mimic some plants with some soil and stop the erosion. So if you got a kit, these are the things that you should have to be able to do this. One, there's a little sheet like this. Yours should look blue, and we'll circle some things on it when we do our experiment. And then you should also have in your little baggie a cotton ball. This little thing, which is a corn husk right here. You should have little bits of shredded paper right here, and a pipette. And then you also should have gotten a plate. Your plate is a white one, and some sand in a baggie. So the thing that you need to get, if you don't have it already, is just some water. You don't have to have a jar like this, but you just want water in a cup, because we need some water that we're going to use with our pipette. So just water in a cup will work totally fine. And then what you'll want to do is take your soil, and you're going to want to pour the bag out onto your plate. And then you want to kind of mound it up into, it's like a little hill of soil, not just spread out all over the place. And let's see if I can show this to you a little bit better with my document camera here. Okay, here we go. So here's my plate right here. And then I got my thing of water. And I also have my pipette right here. So the first thing you want to do is pour out your sand. Make your little mound. You can try to make it as high as you want. Little volcano, mini soil, hill, mountain, whatever you want it to be right here. And in order for this to work, this soil is really dry, and you can see like, oh, there are all the little bits of rock and stuff. Remember we were talking about how part of what makes up soil are little bits of rocks. So we have a lot of those here. And in order for the experiment to work, we need to get this a little bit wet first. So you're going to get some water with your pipette, and you're just going to kind of squeeze it on there. And we're going to do it a few times and kind of just dampen this. We don't want to make it so wet that the water is like pouring out the sides, but you can kind of see I'm just adding a little bit around, and then our experiment will work better. So just keep adding the water. I'm going to add just a little bit more. I think we're almost there. This is better than trying to just pour it on, because it's hard to, you might pour a little bit too much if you try to just pour it from the cup. Okay, I think that's probably good. Okay, so the next thing, oh, I have some extra. The next thing we're going to do is try to make some erosion happen on our little sand hill here. So the first thing you're going to do, which you can see on your little sheet, there's a little part that says experiment right here. So what we're going to do is get 1 milliliter of water first. So if you look on your pipette, you're going to see it doesn't show up very well with the camera, but there are little lines on there. And the first line is 1 milliliter. The second line is 2. So the first thing we're going to do is just try to get 1 milliliters of water. So when I should have said this earlier, but when you're using your pipette, you got to squeeze this part first and then put it in the water and then draw up the water until you get to the 1 milliliter mark. And if you get too much, it's fine. You just drop some back in the water there. All right, so I got about 1 milliliter. And I am going to pick a spot and I'm going to do a squirt in that spot. Okay, I did 1. And you're going to check, did the soil erode? Not really. Let's get another one. And in the same spot, I'm going to squirt again. You can kind of see a little hole. It moved a little bit. Let's try it again. Not so much. We'll do 1 more. Yeah, didn't really move that much, right? So what you can do on your piece of paper is circle, did the soil move yet? And for us, it would be no, right? It didn't move the first time or the second time or the third time. So we're going to try a little bit more water and see if that will make it move. So we're going to do 2 milliliters this time. So that time it did actually move. We got a little bit of the soil running down the side, and that was just with 1 squirt. So I would circle right here. Yes. Right? We got it to move. Let's try it again. Back to 2 milliliters. Squirt again. Ooh, yeah, even more. We're getting like this deeper hole and more water is kind of pouring out the side of the hole. Let's try one more time. Oh, we got a whole bunch that came down with that one, right? So a whole bunch of sand moved away. And we've got this little mini ravine in our little hill here now. So that is erosion, right? That's what we don't want to happen to soil. We want our soil to be nice and protected. So if you ended up with a lot of sand moving down, you just push it back up onto your little hill. You might need to remake it a little bit. And now that we've made some erosion, we're going to try to stop erosion from happening. So that's what we're using these things for. We're going to experiment. Plants' roots are the best, right, for stopping erosion. But let's see if any of these things, which of them will maybe mimic plant roots. Maybe all of them will work to stop the erosion. Maybe only one of them will work. So the first thing that I'm using is the cotton ball. And I'm going to kind of spread it out a little bit. My amount of soil, you all got slightly different amounts of soil. Mine isn't very big. So I'm just going to use part of my cotton ball actually, and I'm going to put it here. And then we also have the corn husk. And once again, I don't need that much. So I'm just going to rip off a little piece and I'm going to say, well, I'll put the corn husk on this side over here. And then there's the little bits of paper. I'm going to take a few bits of paper. I'm going to put them over there. Okay, we're going to see which of these works the best. So you kind of look at it and decide, which one do you think is going to do the best job covering the soil and stopping erosion from happening? Make a guess. And then you also want to decide, okay, how much water are you going to pour each time? We're going to do 3 squirts in each spot again. So do you want to do just 1 milliliter of water or do you want to do 2? I'm going to do 2 because I think more water is more fun. So I'm going to start with the cotton ball, which is the first thing on the other side of your sheet. You'll see it right here. Cotton ball, this is the first one. We're going to try that first. We're going to do 3 squirts, and then we're going to lift it up and see, did the soil move underneath it? Let's try. 1, 2, 3. All right, let's lift it up, see what happened. There's definitely water all over my plate now, but did the soil move under there? Ah, not really. So the cotton ball did a pretty good job for stopping any erosion from happening. The water went through, but the soil didn't move. So that one worked pretty well. All right, let's try, which one is next? The shredded paper next. Let's see what happens with that one. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, that one did not work as well. You could see the paper moving. Let's check it out. Yeah, definitely some erosion happening there, right? See how the soil, the sand just kind of like made a little pool and sort of slid down. So the shredded paper didn't mimic plant roots as well, right? It wasn't a good enough cover to stop the erosion. Let's try the corn husk next. 1, 2, 3. Well, that one was kind of interesting because this part was covered, but then it just, the water just ran down the side of it and the soil on the other side of it ended up eroding. So if I was gonna pick one out of the ones I did, I would say that the cotton ball worked the best because the soil, the water was able to go through it and none of the soil moved. And then maybe this one, because it kind of worked, but then it sort of made erosion happen in a different spot. And then the one that did not work very well, right, is this one over here, the shredded paper. Didn't really work that well. So this is kind of a fun experiment that you can do with other things too, right? Now that you've got this stuff out here, you can try to find some other stuff in your house and see like, okay, what will happen if I put this on here and try to squirt the water? Also, now that you've got all this stuff, if your plate isn't full yet of water, you can just see how much erosion you can make, which is pretty fun too. And you might not have gotten the same thing as me. Like one of these might have worked better for you. Like maybe you put a bigger pile of the shredded paper on and that actually worked really well. Or maybe you used a bigger piece of this or the whole cotton ball and you might have gotten a different result than me. The whole point is just to think about how it's really important to protect our soil from erosion and not have it like disappearing, basically like being taken away by the water or taken away by wind. We want to keep our soil here so that the plants can grow and so that all those cool animals that live in the soil have a place to live. And I actually brought a few, I'm going to move this. I got a few critters that live in the soil to share with you in our last few minutes. Let's see, I'm going to bring this down so we can see them a little bit better. Sorry for the shaky camera, everybody. Okay. Let's see if it'll focus for me. There we go. So this is some nice soil. See how there's like lots of little bits of leaves and stuff. It's dark colored, it's moist. And there's some cool stuff in here. There's a little snail over here. So they like to live in the soil. You might even be able to turn it so you can see the top part of it a little bit better. There it is, the little snail. There's another one over here. And then there's some, oh, look, its little eyes are coming out. See? It's got 2 little feelers on the top. Those are its eyeballs. And then it has 2 little ones down at the bottom and it actually smells with those, which is kind of cool. And they like to eat like little bits of plants and stuff. They help break things down. Next to it, right over here, you can see a little millipede. See, there it goes. So that's a millipede, another thing that likes to eat like the dead leaves and help make new soil. Oh, it's gonna go hide. And then I think I also have a worm in here somewhere, if we can find it. Oh, here's a beetle. This little black beetle right here. Ooh, ooh, there it goes. They like to hang out in the soil. And the last cool thing is a worm. So there's tons of cool things that live in soil. And that's part of why we want to keep our soil healthy and not have erosion happen, because we want to keep this habitat for all of these awesome little critters. And I think we're out of time.
Just about. Thank you, Jenny. That was so much fun. Wow. So much life in that one handful of soil. That was so cool. And what, out of curiosity, if there's some soil without any plants, what could you put on it in the short term to stop it from eroding? I know we tried the cotton ball and the paper, and what would you
Yeah, but
put
that
on it?
wouldn't work outside, right?
Right.
You can put down cardboard if it's in your
Ah.
yard, like just something that will protect it. Sometimes you can buy like sheets of plastic and stuff to protect it.
Yeah.
But that's why people put like cover crops, like in their gardens. You want some kind of plant growing there. That's the best thing. But if you can't get a plant, then there's things like soil cloth that's made specifically to keep your soil in place while you're waiting to plant something there next.
Excellent. And gardening season coming up, kids. So take care of your
Yeah.
soil. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Jenny from Mount Pisgah Arboretum, thank you so much for that fun activity. To families at home, I'm going to put the link in the chat to that survey. Just help us, give us some feedback and find out if we can make things better or change something. So we really appreciate if you take the time. It's 3 questions, won't take you more than a minute. But kindergarten, first grade, thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you, families, for being here. And
Thanks, everybody.
see you next time.